Hello and welcome back. In this episode, we're going to be adding the bass. If you're following along on YouTube, this is your last free tutorial. If you want to continue with the series, you can head to the link in the description to get access to the rest of this tutorial series. And if you do decide to carry on with the tutorial series, you'll get access to the presets, samples, even the Cubase project if you're a Cubase user, and plus many more hours of tutorial footage to go through. Okay, so the bass track is already loaded in and I've already coloured that orange. That is the colour of my basses and it's easy to find on the mixer. And attached to this is Vital, and we're going to load one of the presets that comes with the pack. And we're going to use this preset, BTP Knocking, and this is the bass that is going to be driving through the rest of the track. And then when we jump into the bass, we're just going to create a rocking bass. So that's too high. We're going to do this in 16ths. I'm going to have one on the E flat and then up one octave on the E flat. And you can see what I'm going to do. It's just going to rock back and forth like so. And I'm going to copy that all the way across. Let's just zoom out. So it occupies the whole 4 bars. And over here on the mixer, you can see that the gain is actually set to 0 on the pre-gain, like all the rest of them are set to -9 that we did in the previous episode. This doesn't need doing because the sound design coming out of the synth is already pretty quiet, so we don't really need to do that. We can just balance it with the fader. But having said that, there is going to be some gain increase from the plugin chain that we're going to do on this. So we're going to actually edit the bass and get that in place, and then we can start mixing the kick and bass together. So the first plugin in the chain is going to be a saturator. And this is going to come in the form of Hoffer Systems Saturator. It's free. You only have access to the 1950s preset. And to get hold of these plugins, we can just type in Hoffer Systems and free. And you can see we're going to get this link at the top. And you can see we've got some freeware. Now, if you click download freeware, you're going to have to download their install manager. And their manager looks like this. Once you've downloaded it, you'll log in with your account because you need an account to do this. Once you've done that, you'll see this list. If you use the scroll wheel, go all the way to the bottom till you see Hoffer freeware, and you can just click download and install. And you can see some of them I've not got installed. You can just choose which ones you want. And I've installed, obviously, the saturator for our project. So jumping back in, I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger so we can see what we're doing. And we're going to start by saturating the sound, so just filling it out a little bit more. And we're going to use the combination of the drive, the filters up here, these little handles, and the tone as well. So I'm just going to get the general tone with our slider at the top here first, increase the drive, increase or decrease the tone depending on what we need. And to just quickly guide you through the saturator and what I've just done, I've just rolled off the highs because we don't need the highs saturating. We're mainly focusing in on the bass level because everything else is going to occupy this top space. I increased the drive and you could see I went right past it to hear the tonal quality of what the drive was doing. And then I dialed it back to just where it starts to change the sound, which is around 5 dB or something. And then I dialed it back after I used this tone here as well. And the tone, I'm just really dialing that back just to soften the bass off a little bit so it's not too clicky. And then we can come back and tweak that if we need to later on. So you can see there's a grand difference between the two. One sounds quite clean and the other one sounds a little bit more dirty and distorted, which is what we're looking for. We want to add extra harmonics in. And I quite like the extra harmonics on the top there. Next up, we're going to be using a clipper. Now I'm going to use the free clip plugin from Ven Audio. And to get this, we can just type in Ven Audio clipper. You can see the first link there. And once you're on this page, if you scroll past, you can see the subscribing mailing list there. You can do that, that's optional, but you can download without subscribing at the bottom here for Windows and Mac. Same applies, download, install, restart your DAW, and you'll have access to Ven Audio Free Clip. So essentially what we're trying to do is push the level and just clip it a little bit, or we don't have to, but it just boosts up the level and again increases a little bit of harmonic content. And you can see we've got a soft clip type, we've got a hard clip, quintic, and it goes all the way through different styles. We're going to leave it on the hard clipper, and we're going to increase the gain of the input and reduce the ceiling of the clipper here. So the output here, I'm just going to reduce this to -9 because that's where we want things to sit. And then what I'm going to do is just increase the gain in. Let's see how we go. Ceiling down to -9 as well. Okay, so I'm looking at this little bit at the bottom here, and you can see the more red it goes, the more it's clipping, and the more distortion and harmonic distortion you're adding into the sound. So we just wanted to push it a little bit just to bring out some of that grittiness, just a smidge, and that is what we're really looking for there. So I brought the output down here to -9, so I wasn't overindulging on the loudness, because sometimes loudness with our ears perceives as better, and it is never really the case. So we can bring this output back up now, but we can see the ceiling clipper is actually brought down to -9 or -9.4. Let's just neaten that up a little bit. That was better. Now I can bring the output back up to the level that we roughly want, and then obviously we'll change this once the sort of kick comes into the play. And just to quickly explain, I'm bypassing this on and off so I can hear the signal before free clip and after free clip. So I'm trying to match the levels in and out. So then when you're turning it on and off, you can actually hear what the plugin is doing rather than hearing something louder and thinking that is better. So there's a little bit of distortion going on there. It sounds quite nice and clean. I'm happy with that. We can come back and edit this if we need to, but that is that part done. And then I'm going to do a little bit of volume shaping with Tau Filter 2. So again, legacy mode, volume, 16, and then I'm just going to create a basic curve here, like a sidechain imitator. So there we are. Let's see what that sounds like. Then I'm going to bring the depth down. So I want it to be a little bit punchier so we hear more of that rolling bass. That sounds much better. And then just to make sure that the bass is not operating on the kick when we do introduce it, I'm just going to add an area of flatlining volume there. So it's really just pumping that first beat of the bar. With that done, we can add a little bit of Nova EQ just to tidy up what we've done here. So if we click this, you can see there's a lot of low information past 20 Hertz. We don't hear anything past 20. So I'm going to set the Hertz marker down here to exactly 20. I'm going to go a little bit steeper at 72 dB. I'm just going to really shave that out. And then with the EQ, I'm actually going to boost some of the lows just to make it a little bit warmer and then cut out a little bit of boxiness. And that is the key to getting a nice level bass here. So this is going to be crudely done. We're going to have to come back and edit this possibly when we introduce the kick. So just a little wide boost there, not too much, just enough to get that sort of low end going. And then we're going to remove some boxiness, probably around the 100 to 200 Hertz area somewhere. And I can already see it's here. But use your ears, don't use this particular style of editing. So if we solo that, it's quite a boxy tone coming out of that. I'm just going to tighten up the Q a little bit more. Because we're only really wanting to control that particular frequency. We don't want to sort of affect too much around it. And then on top of that, I'm actually going to boost around the 2K area just to fill it out, because there's a lot less information in this style of track. We just want to make sure that we're filling out the frequency spectrum. So for now, I'm just going to boost this a little bit. So about there sounds right. So I'm just trying to bring a little bit of presence out in that area. And if you just give that little boost, keep it playing, and then just bypass it on and off, and you'll be able to train your ears to hear what's going on. An even better way is to turn off that particular visualizer as well at the back, so you can just use your ears and not your eyes. And with that done, we can shut TDR Nova down. So the final part of this really is to set things into mono. So I'm going to use Cubase's mono and stereo plugin. You just need a utility plugin that has a mono switch on it. Just switch mono and it will make sure it is not in stereo anymore. And that's going to give us a nice centered bass. So in fact, just previewing it with the kick there, I'm actually going to opt for reducing the stereo width rather than just totally making this mono. So let's go back to this. So you can see there's a bit of width up here. So that's mono essentially. Just narrowing it a little bit more. That works a lot better with that sound. And at this moment, I'm not going to balance the kick and the bass. We're going to do that in the next episode. We need to make sure that they are balanced together at the same levels, and I'll show you a good way to do that. But with that said, we've got the bass already sorted, and you can hear the level is a lot higher. So let's listen to before and after. And I think a really good thing to show you is what we're going to be using to balance everything, which is Span by Vox & Go. And what we're just going to quickly use this for is just to see how the shape of the bass has changed over time over all the frequencies. So beforehand, it's going to sound like this. So it's quite bottom heavy, and then it tails off naturally because that's the bass. It's not going to have too much high information. Then after the processing, we can see we're still retaining the bass, but we are increasing these mids here. That is just giving a bit more presence to the sound. You'll see them drop off when I bypass this again. So you can see it's just adding more presence to the track, and obviously with less elements, we need more presence from the elements that we already have. And there we are. That brings us to the end of the episode. If you're watching on YouTube, this is the final episode. You can head over to borntoproduce.com and get access to the rest of this tutorial series if you choose to do so. And if you do choose to do that, you'll get access to the samples and the presets, the MIDI, everything else like that. And if you're a Cubase user, you're going to get access to this project as well. And obviously, you're going to get access to many more hours of tutorials to build this track. And with that said, thank you very much for watching. I'll look forward to seeing you all in the next one. See you there.